Welcome back to Just Chattin', and this is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own entertainment. So, Audie the bad cat is somewhere around here. He's been in a weird mood today, and he basically wants me to empty out his food dish and replace it with new, different food. That's his new thing. So he is on his third bowl of new, different cat food today. And I've tried to persuade him that this is not fun for me, but it's a great deal of fun for him. So it's a game we're going to continue to play. Okay, yellow for Catherine, for Lex's mom, for everybody who is coping with cancer. We are wishing all of you the best possible outcome, and we are sending our good wishes out into the cosmos for you and your successful and complete recovery. Okay, when we come back from the intro, we are going to take a look at the second half of the 10 reasons why we all dislike the sock puppet that started on Thursday, but I just ran out of time. Yeah, I know, who would have thought that compiling a list of the things we dislike about the sock puppet would carry on to more than one video, right? Okay, we'll be back in a minute. Okay, let's get right into it and start with, and this will be point number 6 because we covered 5 last time. Point number 6, his obsession with his personal security and that of his family. Now, when we get into this, we can't do this without raising a related point, which is his constant playing of the Diana card, because his claims about his need for security always go back to this bizarre and nonsensical conspiracy theory belief that he has that the media murdered his mother. We've been through this on this channel too many times to bother going through it yet again. Diana died as a result of a driver who was speeding, had amounts of apparently alcohol and prescription medications in his bloodstream, and the only person to survive was the only person wearing a seatbelt. End of story. That just tells it all. It was every possible thing that could go wrong and contribute to an automobile accident, an intoxicated driver, speeding, no seatbelts. There you go. But still, he brings this in. He doesn't want to lose his wife the way he lost his mother. What? I mean, first of all, there's no comparison, because the sock puppet is claiming, and this is his new claim, that anybody can dart out of a crowd wielding a knife or throwing some acid. Well, that's not what happened to Diana. She wasn't stabbed. She wasn't poisoned or burned with acid. No. But this is all conflated in his own mind. And again, going back to the Honey Boo Boo family analogy, remember how they used to tell if the spaghetti was done? Throw it against the wall. If it's cooked, it sticks. Well, that's what the sock puppet is doing. Hey, if it sticks, it's cooked. So, yes, it's this constant reiteration of unrelated circumstances. For example, the death of his mother, attempting to make these equations. Well, my mother died, so if you don't give me security, people are going to throw acid at my wife. Is there any logical connection in any universe between these two ideas? No, not at all. But he is continuing to pursue this drive to get security. Now, we all know, and I have to give credit to the Royal Grift on this because she has done the most extensive work of anyone in supporting this notion. And that is that they're really interested in the IPP status, because with the IPP status comes, in addition to enhanced security, meaning armed security people, meaning security paid for by other people, not the sock puppet, by other governments, and diplomatic status. It comes with access to a lot of information that is not ordinarily available to you or me or anyone else on the streets. So, do I think that's a big part of it? Oh, yes. Do I also think that it's because they want the bells and whistles of the police motorcades? Oh, yes. Do I think it's because they want the trappings of a presidential motorcade? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But the fact of the matter is, this constant fighting the fight over security again and again, even though the British courts have rejected this idea that he's entitled to it. They have said you cannot privately pay for Metropolitan Police protection. In other words, Scotland Yard is not for sale. It doesn't go out to the highest bidder. They are not rent-a-cops. They've said this repeatedly. And of course, naturally, when it began, he wasn't even offering to pay. That was sort of a postscript he tagged on when people started complaining about why they should be paying security for an ex-working royal. So he's continuing to fight. It is costing the taxpayers money. It is clogging the British courts. It is taking people away from the jobs they should be doing. And even though he can be held accountable for the court costs are a fraction of what the real costs are, because the real costs are more than just the time of the court and the court personnel to hear these cases. It's all the prep work they have to engage in. It's all of the people who are not directly involved that still have to participate in preparing these cases. So, yeah, court costs, that'll be a fraction of what the British taxpayers are really going to have to pay in the end. Is that a good reason to dislike the sock puppet? I would say, oh Lord, yeah. All right, next up, racism. Now, we know that the sock puppet has a long history of racist comments and racist behavior. In fact, let me get this out. Right here in Lady C's book, she documents that the sock puppet began making anti-Pakistani remarks when he was barely out of toddlerhood. In other words, sometime between the terrible twos and going off to school. And yeah, it's been lifelong with him. In the video notes, I have at least one article in which he later, and so keep in mind, I mentioned his toddlerhood, but very recently he had claimed that, yes, he was dating a Zimbabwean, Chelsea Davy, but it's not like she's black or anything. And that was a quote attributed to him by one of his close friends / associates. So, yeah, and that's documented. And in between the two, we have extensive, well, I'm not just racist, but there's also homophobic references in there. And there were videos. At one time, they were available on the internet. I do not believe they are any longer. I believe they have been scrubbed. So for those of you who have not had the opportunity to see the videos, I have. I have actually seen with my own eyes, and you could dispute that if you'd like. I wouldn't blame you, because, yeah, I'm blind. But I have also heard with my own ears the stuff that was coming out of his mouth, and it is bad. And for me, I have to admit, it was extremely confusing. And I'm just going to throw this out because he used a word that I have used many, many times in my lifetime, and that word is packy. When I use the word, it's spelled P-A-C-K-Y. And that is because in New England, Rhode Island in particular, if you want to buy liquor from a store that you take home to drink, and many states handle this very differently. Some states allow you to buy a case of beer out of a bar, but it's regulated differently in each state. In Rhode Island, the packaged goods stores are often abbreviated to Packy. I'm going to go down to the Packy and get a 6-pack. You want anything? Yes. It was a word that had no racial charge for me at all. And it did take me a while to figure this one out. Why would anybody be concerned about that word? I wasn't getting it. And eventually, someone did make a reference, and I believe this was it on a YouTube video? I'm not really sure where I heard it, and said that is a sort of dismissive way of referring to someone from Pakistan. I'd never heard that in my life. But keep in mind that this is a very big country, not just in terms of geography, but in terms of population, and different ethnic groups are in different areas. Not every area has equal representation of different ethnic groups, and I had never lived in an area that had an appreciably large Pakistani community. I don't think I did. I don't know. I mean, I honestly do not know. That's that pesky old blind thing. Everybody looks alike to me. So I didn't get it. But that was his big one. Anti-Pakistani comments. And, of course, using the word gay as an insult. And, again, heard it with my own ears. So, yes, he is the one with the racist attitudes. He always has been. He is the only person in the British royal family alive today, and I have to say that because, quite frankly, I'm not prepared to go back into the past and dig up whatever people were saying long ago, but he is the only member of the British royal family alive today that I know has been legitimately accused of making racist comments, and he has done it pretty consistently throughout his life. So, yeah, he's a racist. We all know this. And frankly, we all know this because it's coming from his own mouth. Yet, he is very hypocritically accusing his family of racism. And just to compound one hypocrisy with another, then sitting in front of the public saying, I never said they were racist. That wasn't me. Oh, no, you just accepted an award for revealing the racism in the British royal family. Yeah, right. But you never said they were racist. So, yeah, a lot of people have problems with him for that. And I can totally understand that. So, next up on our list, and this is one that many veterans and active service people have a problem with. Enumerating his war kills. How many of the Taliban or whoever it was he was allegedly killing? I don't believe, frankly, I got to tell you, I don't believe he killed anybody. I do not believe that he saw that level of action. Sorry, I don't. So, yeah, for all I know, he was taking credit for killing civilians. They're all figments of his imagination anyway. But in spare, he does say, I was responsible for, I believe it was 25 kills. Doing something like that leaves every service man and woman open to retaliation. Why? Because it is high profile, because the sock puppet is high profile. He is making this high profile, and that almost begs a response. And who will pay the price of that response? The service people. Plain and simple. Because even though we look at it and say, well, this is the dim-witted sock puppet who may well be making this up, that is not necessarily how anyone else is going to look at it. So yeah, that was completely, excuse me, I'm taking my sweatshirt off. It's getting warm here. That is another of the many reasons that people can look at this guy and say, I am just so not interested in listening to anything he has to say. Because, yeah, the idea of putting active duty service people and veterans at risk of retaliatory attacks, not to mention the fact that this provides great propaganda for his country's enemies. Yeah, big problem. And while we are on that, we're going to go over to another one. And that is wearing his medals here in the U.S. to events that are allegedly honoring our military veterans. Oh, and active duty personnel, not just veterans. But yeah, he shows up wearing a bunch of medals. Well, here's the thing. Again, article in the video notes. The majority of those medals, and there's usually 5 of them that he wears, 4 out of the 5 were gifts from the Queen. And one of them was a medal for the fact that he did 2 tours in Afghanistan, playing video games, but still, he was, in fact, in Afghanistan. But the rest, no. Medals that the Queen simply gives out. They have nothing to do with meritorious service. They are given to postal workers. They are given to, well, traffic crossing guards, for all I know, and just regular people on the streets. The Queen gave out a great many medals. In fact, the article that I've quoted estimates that close to 500,000 of one of these medals, just one, was given out, and the others were also in the hundreds of thousands. So these are not medals. And they are not decorations in the sense of military decorations. They are decorations like this. Here, look at my pretty scarf. In his case, look at my pretty medal. The fact is, and oh, this is the part that frosts my cookies. Your average 8-year-old brownie Girl Scout actually earned the medals on her little sash. So, yeah, but he didn't. He simply got them. They were gifts. They were not earned. Oh, I can go you one better. Sergeant Stubbs was a World War I war dog. I don't know if any of you are familiar with him, but he was a World War I war dog, and he earned his medals. A dog earned his medals, and the sock puppet didn't. So yeah, definitely a problem with this. And what is he doing wearing his medals at U.S. military events? That is an insult to every person either currently serving, previously serving, or hoping to serve sometime in the future in the United States Armed Services. End of story. Does frost my cookies. So usually I leave these military things alone. I figured Trevor Colt, who, by the way, actually did get real medals, is probably a much better person to call the sock puppet out on this because, you know, he's the one with the real medals. He has a bigger dog in this fight than I do. Not that it's Stubbs the War Dog, because Stubbs the War Dog is his own dog in this fight. But yeah, I usually leave that to Trevor Colt. But no, it has to be thrown out there. And the fact of the matter is, this guy is not a war hero. Every medal he got was nothing more than, here you go, you were the Queen's grandson. It's the equivalent of the gold star the teacher gives you when you're in first grade for finishing your homework. That's all it is. Okay, next up, and this is where we're just going to finish it off. Drug advocacy. Now, the sock puppet uses drugs. And I have to be clear about that. This is an ongoing thing, and we have that from his own mouth. He is a drug user. He has been a drug user for a long period of time. Now, I'm not going to turn myself into the sock puppet and be hypocritical about this. I am a child of the 60s. It's not like I've never seen a drug in my lifetime. But I can easily walk away from anything anybody did in their past, anything anybody does in the privacy of their own home. But when you start bragging about it, again, as I mentioned before, when your demographic is 18 to 24-year-olds and you are advocating drug use because it clears your mind, what was he said, clears the windscreen. Well, we have in spare a long documented explanation of his drug use starting at a very early age. Mid-teens, as I recall, going right up to the present, because remember, spare doesn't cut off when he turns 21. That continues along with his exodus to the U.S. and his doing drugs at Courtney Cox's house. Oh yeah, he dragged her down with him. Doing drugs at Courtney Cox's house. And then, in order to hype spare, as part of his push the book move, he does a stream with Dr. Gabor Mate, who has a lot of problems of his own. And we're just going to leave that off the table. But I've got an article in the video notes. You want to take a look at who this guy is? Check out that article. I'm not going to waste my time talking about that here because he's not the subject. And they're talking about current, active, ongoing use of hallucinogenics, illegal hallucinogenics. So yeah, you've got a person who wants to be a role model. We know this because the little woman said so. Wants to be a role model, openly advocating the use of illicit drugs. And a lot of people have been complaining that he shouldn't have even been allowed into the United States. And he should have been deported the minute these disclosures about his ongoing drug use were made public. And even, it gets better, even if they were not dealt with when Spare first came out, the fact that even after that, as he was promoting his book, which, by the way, he did for money, that streamed interview with him and Gabor Mate, it was a pay-per-view thing. You had to buy a copy of his book for $33, and then you got to watch this streamed interview. And by the way, I did see it. I did not buy a copy of his book. No thank you. But I did end up seeing it, and it was pretty freaking irresponsible, because you're talking about people who are, in effect, offering mental health advice to the general public without any sense of what someone's individual issues are, what their history is, etc., etc. Mental health advice should not be dispensed like Pez from a little dispenser. No, mental health advice should be tailored to meet the needs of the individual and should be done in a one-on-one setting with qualified professionals. And I know you're going to say, but wait, didn't Better Up certify him as a counselor? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Outrageous, but yes. Does that mean he's actually a mental health counselor? No, it does not. So yeah, the drug situation. Even while he's promoting the book, he's still talking about ongoing drug use. Definitely problematic, because if this idiot can go on a public forum and brag, and it's the only way I can put it, brag about flouting U.S. law and get away with it, what's wrong with this picture? Let me see. There was one more. All right. I did have one more that I had added to the list. And because we have a couple of minutes, I'm just going to go over this quickly. Travelist and the sock puppet's carbon footprint. So we've got the sock puppet demanding that people like you and me, ordinary, everyday people of limited means, we're not millionaires, that we travel in an ecologically responsible way, that we are environmentally conscious in our travel, right? And believe me, that's a lot more expensive than many of the, well, less trendy ways one can travel. But he's going off on private jets here, there, and everywhere. And yeah, the hypocrisy is just really, really overwhelming on this one. And apparently, Travelist is just somewhere in the background. No one's spoken about it in a long time. And it has virtually no public profile any longer. So I'm inclined to throw this into the category of, 40 by 40 Nutmeg's birthday thing that went nowhere. It's nothing but a PR statement, nothing but virtue signaling with nothing to back it up, nothing ongoing, nothing behind it. So I'm going to let it go there because we are hitting the end of our time allotment. And yeah, anybody who wants a good reason to dislike the sock puppet, here you go. I've given you 10 plus our extra bonus carbon footprint, and in the last video, 2 that I'm not even touching unless I can do a full video on them because they're just too complex to get into in 1/2 hour segment. All right. That is what I have for you. We are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. I hope to see you all next time. And in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.